Hi, I'm Dr. Nancy Crupi. I'm a biologist with 15 years of academic research experience internationally, and I've been working on a lot of different things, and ultimately I have also had to overcome a lot of personal challenges. I'm here to guide you towards awakening and ego death. Ego death and trauma healing are the most important tasks we need to accomplish today for humanity. The second season of the New Earth podcast is going to be specifically focused on giving you stories so that you see the trails and what kind of breadcrumbs you need to follow for you to reach your own ego death, for you to reach your own trauma healing, and for you to embody your highest self finally. Let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to a new episode of the New Earth podcast. Today with us is Anna Kali. She is an incredible intuitive singer and energy healer. Hi, Anna. How are you today?
Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Hello. So we're going to be talking about her story. As you know, guys, this second season is going to be about a lot of different things related to healing, but also to the journey that a lot of healers go through before becoming healers and all the things that they go through. And I feel like most of us, what our calling, what every one of us kind of tries to do in the world is to solve a problem, right? And so whenever we encounter challenges in our life and then we go through struggles because of those challenges, then I feel like as soon as we overcome them, the first thing we think of doing is like, I want to heal people. I want to prevent people from undergoing the same thing. I want to tell people the solution that I have found because I know how bad suffering is, you know? And so I feel like we all do the same. And so most healers ultimately become healers in their own very specific way because they have discovered there is a problem and there is a portion of the population that is particularly kind of victim of this problem, whatever problem that may be. And because of that, whenever they heal and they overcome their problems, then they try to go back to their, kind of past self to heal
Mhm.
others in the same way and to understand how their skills can be useful in this solution that they're proposing. And so everyone ultimately has their own unique way. I have developed my own unique way of healing people. You have developed your own unique way, and I think it's beautiful. So tell us what you do today, and then how you got here. Like, let's start from like the end in a sense and say, like, what kind of practice do you do? What kind of healer are you?
I call myself energy healer because even when we are working with subconscious, it's not just isolated practice with like subconscious symbols and practices and work. We definitely work with energy. When we manipulate our subconscious, we manipulate our energy too. So I do not use like usually my energy um, abilities to directly help the person. What I like to do, I like to guide the person through his own healing, through practice that he does by himself, so he can heal and then control the process. Because if I just help him energetically without explaining how the things work, without explaining how his mind works and his subconscious, I think it can help only for some time. That's it, and then the person will come back to their his problems.
I agree with
So
that. I actually call that, I created a term for that. I created a term for that and I call it conscious healing. And I think it's the next step in our society in general. And I'm gonna just make a little parenthesis here because it's really, I think ultimately we are in a phase in our society in which we have already had, like we went through a long time of unconsciousness, especially in the lower social classes, like the population that really like has no know-how, is really start from zero knowledge and has to go through the public school system and the public indoctrination, all these kind of things. It's really, we went through a long time of unconsciousness. And even though we had doctors and we had people trying to heal us and all these things. You see how Western medicine has become. It's like it has become a fraudulent institution that doesn't really heal people. It makes
Exactly.
them sick. So why is that? That is because people are unconscious. That is because people are ignorant. Because whenever there is a lot of sheep, then wolves can emerge, you know? And so in order for us to make it the next step in our evolution and to really change our society for the better, the only thing we can do is to become conscious. It's the same thing that we do at the brain level, in the sense that we also, like at the brain level, we have neurologically, we have the innermost parts of the brains are the lesser evolved. And even if we acquire awareness, we ultimately tend to go back to the PTSD and the compulsive thinking, all those things, and until we develop the most evolved part, which is the cortex, and we use our cortical brain and consciousness to embed our ego and all our strategizing, right? And so the only way
Hmm.
to actually evolve, and this is at every scale, from the humanity, from the population, you know, to our brain, to us as groups in general, it's really to spread consciousness and including in healing. Like, because if people know how their body works, how to self-heal and how to do all of those
Hmm.
things, when they go to someone who tries to defraud them or to just prescribe them a pill and doesn't really try to give them a solution, they're gonna know. You don't need to be there all the time with them to tell them, hey, can't you see that they're not healing you, right? And this is the same for whenever they have an issue, right? Whenever there's a problem, then they know, okay, this is what I need to do. There is no way to, I feel like so far we have been trying to food, how do you say, spoon feed people, you know, like to feed people
Hmm.
with a spoon, always treating people as children, you know, because they were children in a sense. We went through all of these phases of like evolution also from a neurobiological standpoint and from a philosophical and
Sure.
spiritual
Hmm.
standpoint. And so it makes total sense. So what you're saying is beautiful. Like, sorry, I had to interrupt you because I think this is an important concept that today is very, very relevant. And this is really where we need to go. Like my entire projects are based on making people become conscious because
More
that's
and more
the only way.
conscious.
Like we
Hmm.
had a lot of people, like a lot of things that I've learned in my life in terms of like as a woman, I've learned them by absorbing subconsciously movies that I had watched as a kid, cartoons and things, because there are constantly people that try to make us become aware, constantly people that try to teach us how to heal, but until we make it into a conscious thing, we're never going to have power. We're always going to be this needy person that needs to go back.
Exactly. I also like the word normalizing. Normalizing the healing, normalizing the things that are like have been taboo for most of us still. While we are like me and you, we are more into this stuff and it became normal to us. For a huge amount of people, these things are still taboo and magic and
Magic.
witchery and all that stuff that is like no, no.
That's why I'm
Uh,
doing this podcast because, you know, like this is like for me, I'm using really, I'm a scientist and I have a PhD, and these things today have become powerful. You know, like the governments have made the PhD and MD titles become intentionally powerful. And so now I have a power, which is the power of telling people, hey, even though I am a scientist and you believe science and these things are opposite because this is supposed witchcraft. And instead, there are a lot of scientists now that even, let's say, you know, Joe Dispenza and all of these people that ultimately are showing us how this is not woo-woo and witchcraft. This is quantum physics. It's something
mhm.
that can be demonstrated physically speaking and scientifically speaking. And so that's why I'm hosting people like you in this podcast to give people to associate what you do with science because it is science and we need to normalize it as much as and more of people like Fauci to go on TV and tell you what kind of vaccine you take. You know, like this is more important. Like we need to really tell people how to heal and make it become science, you know, instead of making it become alternative medicine or, you know, witchcraft and some things that people don't think are scientifically important. And I feel like your story especially is the real demonstration that this is the highest form of healing in a sense. Like all of these things are really not witchcraft. It's just another science that another form, like the real science that most people have simply forgotten about. for a reason to be exploited, right?
Yes, we all have trauma. We all come to this world to learn something, to go through an experience, and every every process of learning, every process of growing can be a little bit suffering. It can be unpleasant. It can be uncomfortable because when we are growing, when we are changing our mindset, changing even our way of living, it can be really uncomfortable to go through, right? So people sometimes don't really think they are ready for that. Sometimes they embrace the uncomfortable, I mean, comfortable suffering, let's say, even if it like looks uncomfortable and people like talk mostly about their problems all the day. And sometimes you meet a person that is not being through healing, and it's really difficult to even talk to this kind of person because they only talk about what bothers them, but still, it's really difficult for them to step aside and then realize that there's a journey to make here. And that's that's what I think where I have been really lucky to actually dare because I think I'm that kind of person that dares in my life because I've been changing countries and without even like realizing what I'm doing. So maybe that's what brought me to these practices without really like being too much scared to go there, to go into this. But I really dared to believe that there must be something better for me in this life than just suffering and boiling myself up in my problems of the past. So I took this alternative ways of trying to heal myself, right? So that's what I'm trying to demonstrate with my story, with my changes, with my transformation, that it is possible to even heal your immune diseases. Because every when I was growing up, when I was studying, and I had my first problems after my tonsils were cut,
So wait a second,
I've
because
been,
we haven't given people any introduction about your story. So
yes,
let's go back to this in the sense that I would like to give them more of an introduction to what your actual story is because it's very, very interesting and I think it's very relevant. A lot of people, especially with pollution nowadays, they have a lot of immune issues and our diet, everything is so bad. So I think it's very cool that you've been able to heal your problem. And so, first of all, where were you born?
first of all, I'm born in Moldova. It
Okay.
is Eastern Europe. For those who don't know, it's a small country between Romania and Ukraine. Yeah, I was born there, and I'm a musician since I was 6 years old. Uh, then, when I was 15, I moved to capital of my country to study opera singing, and all my like huge problems started in the capital, maybe because of the ecology too,
Pollution, absolutely. I had
pollution.
issues. I also come from a rural area and I moved to Rome when I was 19
Hmm.
and I started having a lot of allergies and things like I don't have allergies in general and I'd never had these sort of issues. I started being allergic to dust and allergic to lactose and allergic to a lot of things. It's really pollution that causes that.
Yes, by the way, I am allergic person since I was born. I had
Mm.
issues like since my mom gave birth, and I had even like a story with that, but I somehow managed to stop my allergy. I had reactions on my skin. I had eczemas on my face. When I was studying, I was like going with my eczema on my front. So I was trying like many things to heal it, and nothing would work. Nothing would work. As soon as I ate like fish, because I have allergies like for fish, apple, onions, like everything, like
A lot of things, actually.
a
So
lot
you're
of things.
prone already to
Fruits,
allergies. Yeah.
yes. So
Your skin is beautiful now. So, like,
thank
just to
you.
say, right?
Yes, I guess it was something like about my abilities even back then because I decided that I knew already that immunity had something to do with my subconscious too. Although I didn't study yet, it was like I had 19 years old, maybe I was. So I decided that I want to stop this because I decide what I want to eat, and if I want to eat fish, I want to eat fish, and I don't care. I will have no eczema, and somehow that worked. Like
So
after
you
like
told yourself, I'm gonna
yes,
eat fish and I'm not gonna have eczema, and that
yes,
worked. So
yes.
how did you actually do that? I want to see like the practicality of it.
I guess the most important thing is the momentum because I tried so many things. I was really like I even taught myself to sleep without moving and because it gives a rush and you want to scratch yourself all the time where
Hmm.
eczema is. So I learned like I taught myself to just sleep and not touch my face in my sleep or my hands where I had eczema. So it was like I worked a lot on my uh, willpower, right?
Wow.
Because to not do that, in order to not do that in your sleep when you can't control your body, like it's a lot of work. So I think that worked on me a lot. My allergy, my fighting allergy story since I was a kid, because it was hell sometimes because I didn't always know what I have allergy to. So sometimes you eat things and you have allergy and oh my gosh, I don't even know what I ate. So then I had a diet when you make those
The dots, like
tests
the
to
allergy
know
test.
what you have allergy to. So I did that, and my doctor said, "Okay, let's try this." So you do the diet, you don't eat these things, and I took magnesium and some vitamins um, for like 2 weeks, I guess, and everything seemed okay till I had I wanted to eat fish. In my country, we eat salty herring. I don't know if you. And I loved it, and I had like, oh my gosh, I need to eat this. So I had this fish, like few pieces. I don't say maybe that fish had some chemicals, chemicals in
Chemicals
it. I don't know, but still, I ate that fish, and damn, I had my eczema in my
in
front
your
again,
forehead.
in my forehead again.
That's the
Yes.
worst spot, by the way, to have eczema on because it's really like, and you can't put, because eczema is not acne. It's like you can really are not supposed to put any makeup on. And it's
Yeah.
really like really, really bad. And I can understand, and especially if you're an opera singer, like someone who works in, you're an entertainer, like, so you need to
Yeah.
perform. And so I imagine how bad it was to like having to perform all the time with this eczema on your forehead and not even knowing where it came from. It's like, I imagine like it really shaped it must have shaped your whole life, childhood and teenage years to like having constantly to deal with this eczema. It's a lot. Like basically was your main issue that you were thinking about all day.
Well, kind of, yes, because it was like I needed to take care of it. I need cream. I needed to keep it clean, and it's like having almost a wound all the time. So that time after that diet, I got really, really angry. I got so angry that I did all this stuff. I did so much to take care of it, so it ends. And then I ate a piece of fish and it came all back. And I said, okay, I don't care anymore. I want to eat everything I want to eat. I'm a normal person and I won't have any allergies. So I had that momentum of getting angry where I decided that I will decide what's going on with my body, not anything else. So that somehow worked and I went forward and I forgot about it. So
Seriously?
now,
So
like,
now wait, I want to know, like this is crazy. So from one day to another, you're like, that's it. I don't have any problems anymore. And then the day after you start eating normally, you didn't have any eczema?
Yes, I had the cream that helped me like in 1 2 days. Eczema went we're going away. So I guess in 2 days or 3 days it went away because it was really huge. Or even here I had some.
Wow.
So I think it went away and I forgot about it because as usually it happens, you decide something, you make the change, and then you just you switch your attention and somehow, oh, after some time, oh, I don't have it anymore. It really worked. And back then, I was not about like sharing my story and stuff. It was something that happened to me, okay, and I was not telling this to anyone because maybe nobody would even believe me. But this is after some time, I realized, oh my gosh, I did something like that, and that's quite a story too. But I completely forgot about it because nowadays I can have sometimes something just like on my fingers, and it's like once in I don't know in a year maybe.
Maybe when
So
you're stressed out, when do you think that happens?
actually, that happens sometimes when I drink a little bit of wine,
Hmm.
but I it happens so rarely. So
It makes
uh,
sense from a consciousness perspective. Like, for example, I've stopped drinking alcohol because also I realized that it makes me drift from my usual spiritual center. Like, it's really like, so I think if this has to do with you being able to finally master your spiritual energy, and really becoming realigning with yourself instead of allowing things to make you drift unconsciously. And so you need to be very conscious to do what you've done.
mhm.
And so obviously alcohol is something that takes you kind of like away, or it may make you more prone to be, it's like it can overall stimulate your immune system, your body in ways that are not really healthy. And so
Yes,
it kind of
yes.
makes you more
We can
prone.
definitely talk about the alcohol too, because now after all these years of my life being changed, I do things that I do personally for myself, right? For example, when maybe we should continue the story so I can come to this more beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
so
is not usually cut. So most likely I'm not gonna cut any of what we have said, like other than maybe something, I don't know. But like just keep going, don't worry about that.
yeah. I just want to try take back the story that I was trying to say
Yeah.
that
So let's go back to your
my
you were saying your childhood,
shield,
like you,
yeah.
so you have healed from eczema.
I have healed from eczema. That was true, but still, when I was 17, I got my tonsils cut
A
because
what?
tonsils, the
Ah,
glands here,
tonsils. Like you had surgery to remove your tonsils?
yeah, yeah. And when I was 3 years old, they removed my adenoids, the ones that are like
Yeah.
closer to years. Yeah, and all of that also, I guess, worked on my immune reactions. So when I was studying, like singing, right? I was studying opera singing till I was 21, I guess, or 22. After some time, I realized that um, I I drink some cold water. I go outside without a scarf in the winter or something, or the wind is blowing, or I'm in a room where uh, currents of air, constantly blowing. I realize that something is happening with my throat. I start coughing. If outside was like a little bit chilly and humid, I would cough suddenly. So I went to um, doctor, and she would tell me, "Well, okay, now you're without tonsils, so you have um, chronic things like
Chronic immune, what? Chronic
yeah,
allergies? No,
yeah,
what?
no, not allergy, but
Immunodeficiency?
um,
Most likely immunodeficiency or something like
I
that.
forgot the word like trachea or something when your throat is like sore and stuff.
Ah, sore throat? Not
Yeah,
sure.
like chronic sore throat, chronic problems
So
with
why did they remove your tonsils in the first place?
because I had some bacteria, maybe staphylococcus or something, after I was going to pool,
And
I would
they
like to.
removed your tonsils from that?
We tried to cure them with antibiotics 2 or 3 times, and then the doctor told me that we probably should get rid of them before
You
it
go into
gets any worse.
sepsis.
Hmm.
Yeah, because so
So
the problem is that these organs are important for the immune system, but also they can be infected by microbes and become like a place where you can go into sepsis for things like that. But at the same time, it's really I really completely disagree with removing pieces of the body. This is for me completely against the law of nature. Our
I
body is perfect.
completely, I completely
Yeah,
agree with you. And now that I know that there there were a lot of ways to do it differently, but
yeah.
back then it all makes sense to me. We tried 2 times, it didn't work, so
And it was
it was
something that it was kind of like normal in my age. I feel like we're probably similar age. I feel like in my generation, it was completely normal to
cut
remove
things off.
tonsils from people, to have the, like it was, I remember this word, like of like this surgery was something very, very common in
That's
my
true.
region, in my age. This is something that was very common, unfortunately, and I really don't understand it. And it's the same with gallbladder, like issues, your stomach, well, let's remove your gallbladder. This is
Yeah.
really nonsense. And there's so order the appendix. There's so many things that because they may cause a little trouble, and sometimes they may cause death because some organs, if they get inflamed and infected too much,
Hmm.
then they become really places where microbes go and start colonies and things like that. But ultimately, our body created those things because we need them to
Hmm.
detoxify our body, to protect us from infection. Maybe instead of cutting them off, we need to strengthen them. If there is an issue, like if they're too weak to fight, you need to get vitamin D, you need to get all the necessary things of vitamin C, you need to get things that help your immune system and that are
Exactly.
anti-inflammatory.
Exactly.
Like this is the holistic approach to it, not removing parts, because look what happened, right? So
That's
tell me more. Yeah.
that's
So you,
Western medicine
yeah,
logic, let's say.
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
after it was done, like some years after, I saw people when I was coming to this doctor that told me, "Oh, you have a chronic disease now." So I saw people were doing local procedures like rinsing tonsils with different stuff,
So removing
and
them.
without like before removing them, I could do even that, but I was never told
Cold.
that I have that option. So it's like a long story because there's so many options to do everything without cutting anything off. So many options to cure organs locally, even if they're inside. And there is just mm, holistic medicine that we are not like usually normally aware of and don't know how those things work. Even like natural oils or even clays or like or the first and the most simple thing is when we like get cold, people don't know that you have to warm up anything that you get cold, like you got cold. If it's like sometimes like I saw people like even like his like eye would like get cold and some nerves would like not work well. You just have to warm that up back. If something got cold, you
That's
have to warm
simple.
that
Yeah.
up.
Is that simple? Like the universe is really like physically speaking, we're really supposed to maintain homeostasis all the time. And so whenever you have a peak of cold, a peak of stress, a peak of whatever, you have a peak in a direction, then you really need to balance it out. You
Balance
have the
back.
same reaction on the opposite side. So if it is cold, you need to warm it up. That's what I do. I take hot baths. Whenever I feel cold, I take hot baths, which is what we're
Exactly.
supposed to do. Yeah.
That's how I started to heal myself with time without taking any medicine. I would if I have like if my ear is like feeling weird, I would warm it up so everything comes back pretty much fast.
So you
So these
had
are
these
like
tonsils removed, and so
yeah.
and then you start having a weak immune system.
Yes, yes, I
And
would have like
what kind of issues were you having?
um well while I was studying it was like only having issues with my throat, because if I cough, if I have a sore throat, it would be so difficult to sing, to be able to sing well and
Oh yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so back then in my country, this would be like the only thing that would bother me. But after I finished studies, I moved to Italy, and uh, over there, I got myself into some codependent relationship.
Tell me about it.
Um, yes, so I lived there for 4 years, and like at the end of those 4 years, I realized that I'm a total wreck because I felt my immune system like being really, really down because anything like a drive in a car, and like in Italy, there's hills, and we go down on the hill, I would feel bad. We would go up of the hill, I would feel bad. Like everything I do, I feel bad.
Wow, every
And
change, yeah, every slight change basically of your
yeah,
surroundings will change, will cause you to feel like bad. What does that mean?
I would feel almost, I don't know how to really like explain this, but it's like when I guess something close to when you're really tired and something here like
On the back of your neck
bothers. It's like you
bothers.
have something on your neck, yeah, and and also um, being really stressed, and when everything bothers you, like somebody says something and it bothers you, everything bothers. Like you don't have like a normal reaction, like you hate everything, it's like
Hmm.
you drowned, you really
Get
drowned.
annoyed. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
drained
yeah.
and annoyed. Wow, that's interesting. So just basic things will make you change so much.
Yes, and most of all, definitely if it's cold, if it's like windy in the house, or like the door is open or the window is open,
And
I
this
could
while you were also in
feel
a
that with my skin. I could feel if somewhere is like windy, I could feel like where the wind is coming from and where it's going exactly. I would be so sensible or sensitive to all these things.
and all of this when you were in a codependent relationship as well for
Yes,
like
let's
four
say
years.
that worse than that got like that
Yeah,
made
that's
things
why I'm
so
saying
much
because
worse.
codependent relationship, like toxic relationships in general, really weaken your immune system a lot. This is really like something that we don't talk about enough. And people don't understand the kind of damage that abuse and manipulation and emotional distress and all of these things can really cause to people that have to do with the immune system. And for the immune system, it's a chain reaction because, like if you have like these kind of reactions with like minor things, that means that you cannot have a normal life. And if you're a singer, you're constantly with a sore throat. So this is huge. Like we don't realize how much stress coming from relationships and abusive relationships can really affect us in a negative way and prevent us from healing too, because it's not just about causing you issues, but also if you have pre-existing conditions, these like situations don't make you be in an optimal state. And so this is ultimately your body trying to tell you, hey, we are not in a good situation. You need to get out of here,
Exactly.
but you don't know that. And so how it comes
There's
down.
there's one thing that I want to tell about the immunity situation. Let's say if I didn't have this like low immune situation, I might have gone like further with this bad relationship situation, for example. What
Mm,
I want to say is that the things that were like really bad with my immunity gave me an opportunity to see the world from different perspective. For example, even with example of the drinking cold iced water, for example, if I would drink that, I suddenly like were getting sick with my throat. But I also realized that cold water would give problems to anyone. Even if you're healthy, it's not good to drink cold water. It's just when immune system is so low, you just can feel that so brightly. You can just feel it on your skin. And even like even the toxic relationship, right? even that I could feel so brightly because I had my low immunity problems, right? So these are things that usually people are not uh, paying attention to, like
We are
you
very
know.
tolerant. We tend to become very tolerant, and I think most of all, most of it has to do with, this really has to do with realigning, in the sense that I have been through a lot of different things in my life, and I'm very, very resilient. I got to a point in my life in which I also started, like, I remember I had a session with a psychologist with my family at some point, because I also come from like dysfunctions and things like that. And so I remember telling her that I felt like as if I was a donkey, in the sense that I was always the one that um all the load was on me. Everything was on me. And because I was so resistant, because I was so resilient, because I was so strong, I could not do those things, if you make sense. Like I was like, I'm never tired. Like I spent and I currently am, I'm never tired. Like I rarely feel tired. And so I feel like most people have um beyond this, I feel like I start realizing how certain things were toxic for me once I started um getting a finer spiritual energy, like cleansing out and shedding away things, and then having a better diet and a better thing. And once you shed away all of these things that ultimately kind of are background noise, like having a, like when you have a gross spiritual energy, and for gross I mean not refined,
Hmm.
then what happens is that all the things, junk food, junk TV, all these things that are poisonous, we have so many of them that it's difficult to see that they are poisonous, because your body is so intoxicated that you can't really
Hmm. Hmm.
feel that you're intoxicated.
You
And I
can
feel
make the
like
difference. Yeah.
that gave you a chance, an opportunity to instead being forced to see that, because it was causing you major, major issues like immune disorders that you couldn't even fight because you didn't even have adenoids and tonsils. So like were
Hmm.
already immunocompromised for various reasons. And so that kind of forced you to pay attention and to really see how things are. And I don't think that cold water is bad for everybody. Sometimes it's good to cool down, as you said, when you warm
Yeah.
up, it's good to cool down. When you cool down, it's good to warm up. So you need to have balance. But it is true that there are so many habits. Like cold water is not necessarily good for you. It's like, especially when you eat it with food, you're blocking your digestion. So it's really, we do
Exactly.
so many things that are really so ingrained in our culture, and including toxic relationships is normal, right? There's so many movies,
Hmm.
and until 10 years ago, I feel like most movies kind of glorified toxic relationships. It was okay to have this banter, right? The banter. What's the banter? Like sometimes like it can just be having arguments and being toxic to each other. You know what I mean? It's called trauma bond. It's not a banter.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so we tend to normalize a lot of things that are really not normal. And I feel like that gave you the chance to instead recalibrate and be like, hey, if these things hurts me, that I have I'm immunocompromised, then it just really hurts everybody. It's just that most people don't realize that. And so if you're
Exactly.
not immunocompromised today, you're going to be in 10 years. And so all these things, accumulate, all these things that we do and that we don't
Exactly.
realize at that moment, but we realize when we are really, really understand, when at that point we have reached a level of stress and a level of sickness, that then we notice what things are bad for us, right? But they were bad from day zero. They were bad from the very beginning.
Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And so
So
you were having these issues and were you in Tuscany?
yeah, I
You
was
were talking about the hills and it looks like beautiful. And
yeah.
so you are having this.
From one point of view, everything was kind of beautiful, but neither that helped, let's say.
And so you were immunocompromised and you were having this issue with your boyfriend at that time. And so how did that go?
Well, that went kind of interesting because um, I my brother would tell me about this green card lottery, and he would tell me that you should go to this real website. because there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of like companies that want to take your money and blah blah. I said, okay, whatever, I'll go and try that. So I tried that 2 times, and then the second time I won the chance to receive this green card. So the second time I won, I was in Italy already. So, and it takes a year to know that you won. So at that time, I was like third year in Italy. So I just said, okay, I don't have anyone in America. I don't know if I want to go. But then after some months, I did some research, and people say, are you crazy? People like are spending so much money to get a like opportunity to live in America, and you just want to waste that away. And I was like, okay, maybe that's a point. Maybe I should at least try. And I contacted my ex-colleague that I was studying with in college. She was in QS, and she said that she'd help me for the first time because it's a different country. I had no idea what to expect here, and I didn't have much money. And like in some months, we had conversation with my ex-boyfriend about this, and it looked like it was a good idea for me to go and try. Although back then, honestly, back then, the only thing that I wanted to hear is no, you don't go anywhere because I love you. And
Oh,
but that didn't
cutie.
happen because you will hate me if I don't let you go. So maybe that was true. I don't know. But anyway, uh, that was that was definitely good for me because I really get out of that relationship, not right away though. I I come to America and I lived 7 months in QS. Then I came back to Italy for the summer, and I realized even more things about, like, I started to realize things, but I was still so sure about our relationship and that we have a future together. Although I came to America alone without him. So we were in contact every day. But then when we decided that I'd move to Los Angeles because there's much more opportunity here for everyone. And after some time, I started like frequenting this women's circles. There was a separate story for the women's circle because when I met this Russian woman that she was studying with shamans from Siberia. Back then it was like, wow, shamans from Siberia, what is it? I don't know. But I needed some friends because in LA I didn't have many friends, but like the first 6 months, I guess. So I had just one friend, and I said okay because I didn't even like speak Russian to anyone since I've been to Los Angeles, so I wanted to reconnect with people that speak my language, and so I went and we did some practices and we danced in a circle and we talked, and she would explain some things about women. And after that, I came home and I realized that I also had a like psychosomatic pain in my back. And I realized that it went away, and I was struggling with that pain also like for many years. And I also, like you see, I even forgot about this thing, but there was another thing that was going on with me like for quite like many years. It was coming and going, coming and going. But I just remember that I was like, it started when I was in Chisinau, studying in Moldova, when I went to study opera singing. So I just remember that I did like many um, tests and x-rays and nothing. I had nothing, but I had this pain in my back constantly, um, like for some time, and then it was going away. But like during many years, I had it, and at that time when I was like in LA, I still had it, and since QS, I had it like this back pain. I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. So
So you
I
had back
realized,
pain and immune issues at that time.
yeah, yeah, I had many issues. I even forgot now about all those issues that I had, but it's like I was really bad. I was really in a bad situation with myself when I started my spiritual transformation, let's say
And it's
so.
interesting to me that you thought, like I feel like you're very resilient too. Like as you're saying, I forgot, like I feel like you had gone through so much with your eczema as a child that you had normalized not being in an optimal state. And so it was totally normal
Yeah.
for you going to a new country by yourself with all those health issues that for most people will be a major thing that will kind of stop them from moving from going anywhere because it's like, where am I going? I'm immunocompromised, I have back issues, I have all these things, like, and instead you did not care, it just went.
Yes, well, I had my other subconscious reasons for that, right? Because I was still running from something.
Yeah.
I was still running, so I needed to go somewhere because where I was not good, right? So uh, when I started frequenting this women's circles, I started like opening for myself a new world for me, feminine energy, uh, the way of being a woman and feminine ways, principles of living. I was stepping into that, and it was really opening my brain in a complete new way. And I started like really being inspired by all of this. And definitely, my first thought was like every girl should go to a women's circle. And my first thought would be I would definitely do these things for other women for sure. So, and with time, like it took me like definitely not a month. It took me time to realize that I can start tapping into happiness, into my inner happiness, and just enjoying myself simply without anything extraordinary. Um, just being with women sometimes. And back then, when I came to LA, I started working in as a waitress. Then I worked as a bartender. So like 3, 4 times per week, I was going to work in a bar where everybody drinks. So it was like also kind of tough for me because I'm an opera singer and I'm such a dedicated person and I'm working at a bar. It was also kind of depressing for me back then. But there was something simple that I could just do because I have a musician degree. So I couldn't find a job that could pay my bills as a musician back then.
Well, I feel
So
like it's difficult in general, like people in entertainment. I feel like in a world where the most money are earned by people who pretend to heal people, those who truly heal people are marginalized. And so, because entertainment is one of the best ways of healing people, like it's the one of the best
true,
preventative medicine. Like
true.
if you take time to listen to music and to watch something that makes you feel good, and like if you like, it's really also a matter of like shining your light, like when you shine your light on people from a stage, they can be healed with your energy. And so in a world that doesn't want for people to heal, but instead has put in the spot of the healers imposters, then
Hmm.
obviously people who truly are the healers tend to be marginalized and not allowed to earn money because it's how it works, right? And so you're simply being you people like you and like me have been simply replaced by imposters. And so once that spot is taken, then there's no spot for you. So it became very difficult. You see, like you're a very educated person, you are very you're a healer, and instead you had to work as a bartender. Like it's like the world upside down. At the same time, I feel like I've also worked as a waitress in my life, and I've done a lot of different things in my life that are in some way considered like really going down and depressing, but they taught me so much as well. So what do you
Hmm.
feel like
Hmm.
you have learned from working as a bartender?
Yeah, that job, I actually loved it because first of all, it made me speak because I was so closed. I was so close. I would not speak to anyone. And I know English since I was a kid because I was learning um, languages very well and easy, but I could not just speak. I could not just talk about simple things and ask how are
Talk.
you, and yeah, have a small talk. I couldn't I couldn't do that at first, and people would tell me like, you have to converse with customers. It's a normal thing. They actually coming for this, not to drink, but to have a conversation and stuff. And that kind of really made me think about this differently. And I said, okay, that's true. Why can't I just have a conversation and get to know people and to know, because I am really interested about people and what they going through and what's going on in another life that I have no idea about, right? So that job was really good for me to getting myself like just out of myself, not being all the time like closed.
Fair. Do you feel like it also, I think these jobs in general kind of help you also connect with the people that are from the land, because you're new from
Hmm.
here and ultimately you are seeing all kinds of variety of people coming to a bar. So that can like, do you feel like that helped you connect more with this land?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And that helped me connect with people and connect with things that are like are going around, but to also to get myself um I wanted to say in Italian, sciolta,
What?
to let myself melt
Sholta?
melt a little bit because
Yeah, to be more, yeah, to be like
to relax a
easygoing,
little bit because
relax.
when you move in countries, it's still stressing. It's still like you still feel yourself like you're an alien. So that
Yeah.
really helped to relax a little bit into the local atmosphere. That's true. But also, what I like really took as a challenge for myself is to work with my ego on my ego because every time I was coming to my work, every time I had this thought, oh my gosh, Anna, what are you doing here? Because are you like going to work here your whole life? Because if you're here, what like you're not doing anything else, and it was like constant turmoil in my brain um, when I would start to work and I would get myself distracted. But still, every time I would step in, I would have this thought, and I said, no, no, my girl, it's temporary, but whatever it is, even if it's for the whole life, you're gonna enjoy this. So I started to work on my ego to not be always judgeful of all these people that are coming to drink because I had some dreams, I had some um, plans in my life that I wanted to do, and seeing people just coming and relaxing and having a drink and not working towards their dreams made myself think, oh my gosh, what are they wasting their lives on, right? So I'm like, how can you just, like not be so relaxed and not care or not being bothered about like your future and what you're doing and being like, because like most of the time I'm a super busy person and have like too many projects, too many ideas, too many like I want to see, I want to draw, I want to sing, I have the song to write, I want to learn something.
I know
And
about that.
yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, what are these people like? How can they just, drink their life away? And and I said, okay, well, maybe that's good for them. Maybe that's their choice. Maybe that's their life. Who am I to judge them, right? Who am I to judge people? So I was asking myself, Anna, why are you judging people?
This is
What's
beautiful. I
going
feel like
on?
it's really beautiful that like, I think these things ultimately are like the lesson that we're here to learn, to like work on our ego is really some of these. I feel like these are some of the most important experiences that we may have in our life to like really learn to reconnect with the truth. Because in an egoic society, we tend to be brought up and up to feed our ego and make us feel like we have to be someone or we have to have this ambition. Because if you don't become the manager of the company or the opera singer in the Philharmonic or whatever, then you're not going to be anybody, you know? And these are just manipulations, right? Indoctrinations that we get, because the real people, the real jobs, the only jobs that we need as humanity are really the ones that are like at the lowest levels of our society. And so, yeah, so I also had the same experience. I feel like in Rome, I used to work during my PhD. I used to work as a waitress, and I started doing it for various reasons, like, but mostly because I wanted to go on a vacation. Like a friend of mine came to me one day and he was like, "Hey, I want to go to Kenya," and Kenya has been one of my favorite places on earth. It's been one of my favorite vacations ever because Africa is really incredible. I suggest everybody to go to Africa, and please don't do that as tourists. Don't go to casinos. Don't do the classic things that Western people do. Just go and get lost. Go in a time that is not the high season and just get lost there and learn their habits and talk to people. And it's just because they speak so many languages too. Like they're incredible. The poorest people speak 5 languages. Is incredible to me. And anyway, so I wanted to pay for my vacation there for my holidays, and so I started working as a waitress. And I remember it was like the most educated there, obviously. There was also another girl that was working as a waitress there, and this was a pizzeria and a steakhouse and
Mm-hmm.
a salsa club. So it will go
Mm-hmm.
on till like 3 a.m., at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 200 tables, stuff like that. It was a big, big place. And I learned so much, like I had to work with people that were very like from very poor social classes that they had been working as waiters for their whole life, and other people that were very ambitious young guys that wanted to earn some money on the side. And some people, like there was a girl that she was studying for med school, and she
Mm-hmm.
was also just earning money for her to be able to pay for her studies for med school. Even in Italy it's public, but she wanted to have some money aside. She was very disciplined, I remember. So I feel like all of these things kind of like bring your ego down, first of all, and make you be more, oh, like you can see how we are all the same, and the skills we have nothing to do with the intelligence, has nothing to do with your social status, really. Because most of the people that I met there were way smarter than any of the scientists I have met my whole life. There's so much stupidity in science. It's crazy. And so education really has nothing to do with intelligence, and with a lot of people simply don't have the opportunities to reach those levels. And same thing for the customers. Ultimately, it's just a game, like once you learn that game of being, I feel like it's very important in general for our growth to be on both sides of these fence, the consumer and the
Mm-hmm.
server, right? Like the both sides, like the call center service and the like. I feel like these are just both two sides of a fence, in which it's always the population that occupies these two spots. And so it's ultimately a game. And so once you learn to recognize your own ego and people ego, because sometimes there are customers that are like bothersome, like, and because
Mm-hmm.
they are in their ego. And once you learn, okay, that's ego, then you can see that in yourself too. And next time you go to a coffee shop, to a bar, and you try to be egoic and to be like, fancy and spoiled, you can see yourself from the opposite side of the fence and be like, no, this is nonsense, right? So I feel like we learn so much by really having these sort of jobs. I think this is very, very educational in general. And I think, to be honest, I think we all, like as a society, like I would really love to start a movement in which everybody, like as a milestone in their education, they have to occupy that spot. And you can't go to school unless you can't go to college unless you also work in a bar
Mm-hmm.
or like in these things, because that's
I
really
so agree with you.
everybody, no matter how rich you are, no matter how much money your parents have. It's like the military draft. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
do that, you can't take part in society, because that means you're going to become a problem. because you really like
Mm-hmm.
this is really the major thing people need to understand to overcome their ego and to overcome their judgment
Exactly.
and being fancy and feeling grandiose. You just have to really see both sides of a defense. So I think your experience was really, I feel like this is part of your ego death. What do you think? Like, do you feel like that has been, because I feel like what I'm trying to give to people is experiences of ego death. And a lot of people have ego deaths through psychedelics or through, various kinds of trauma and awakening, psychological awakening. But a lot of times ego death has to do with these sort of things. It comes from these sort of experiences. Do you feel like this has been a form of ego death for you?
Yes, so definitely. I just realized that probably there are a few kinds of ego. I'd say in each sphere of your life, we have a certain ego, right? Because, for example, in a relationship, I can say that my ego really was really low. And if I had some ego at the start of the relationship, of the abusive relationship, at the end of it, it was really under the floor. So, but in terms of me working in the bar, and I know that I'm an opera singer and I want to sing and I want to do my stuff, this is a different kind of ego, right? This is not interpersonal relationship. This is like my social ego somehow. So in those terms, it like being like finding myself in a bar, working as a bartender, I just I could feel that, like contrast of it's like seeing the film under the light of the sun. That I got to see what's going on really with my social ego and whatever my aspirings and my ambitions, right? So when I went to work in a bar, I just realized what are my ambitions in general, right? Because if I was like somewhere else, I probably couldn't feel them as much as brightly, right? Again, like the talk about the contrast and in which circumstances you can really like find out what you are for like um, very brightly, right? So yes, I actually, as I told you, like I took this as a challenge because I didn't like those thoughts. I didn't like that I was judging other people and what are they doing with their time. Uh, and I said to myself, I will work on it to see people from the heart and to approach everyone same. Everyone that comes to me is equal. And that I started to do and treat everyone equally because in a bar in a normal sports bar, all kind of people are there, all kind of people. And I said to myself, I won't judge any one of those. No, even if I know he's drug addict, even if I know that he's like, I don't know, it's not my business. My business is to be me and to treat everyone as I wanted people would treat me. So that I took that as a challenge, as a practice, and I worked at that place a year and a half. So my like first 6 months, like I was already frequenting like women circles, and after that, I started like going really deep into energy studying and esoterica and everything, and practicing even more deeply. And let's say that year and a half, it was like my spiritual journey on the contrast of working in a bar.
So you were doing
And
both things at the same time. So at night
yeah,
you will work in the bar and daytime you will be on
yeah,
a, women's circle and studying energy and all these sort of things. This is hard. I feel like it's really hard in terms of this is what I found that is the hardest. And I have something written on my wall that makes total sense with it. It says, until you keep if you want to keep people down, a part of you has always to stay down with them to keep them down, you know? And so this is the same when we keep ourselves down, in the sense that if for you to earn money, you need to do something that is ultimately outside of your, is misaligned with your path, because, you know, that was definitely misaligned with your potential, with your path, right? And with your light, especially working at night, you know, it's really not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're very like sunny, and you know, you're blonde and all of these gold, and like you should be in the sun, you know, like you should work like and shine during the daytime. And I feel like that was really misaligned. But at the same time, it's difficult. I feel like this is summarizes our daily like struggle of everybody, because we have to do jobs that are necessary for our survival, but are really
Mm-hmm.
misaligned with our journey. And it becomes more difficult, or at least this is my experience. You're gonna tell me what you think, but in my experience, I think it's very difficult to be able to go as fast as you could at the rate of growth that you could have, because every time you go to the bar again, you know, like to that kind of life that is so far away from energy healing, you know, drinking, sports, it's like diametrically opposite, really. It's something that you don't really,
Well,
really
I was
feel
not
on the
drinking though,
consistent. No,
but
but you're in that
but being
environment.
around those, let's say, energies that are not bright, right? Like most of them are, and as usual, like I was not even aware about like people like talk, and there's always some smoke, like different kind of stuff. Like there people told me that there been some men that were like uh, planning to marry me or something. Like I don't know, like different stuff, and I don't even know what they like been dreaming about, but and some bad things were too. But I was like, for me, it was important uh, to not spread myself into this, but to work really so much on myself to be myself everywhere I go. So um, so I have so much, and that kind of enough that could feed even like whatever is needed to feed around me, to not feed off of me, like of my center. You know, it's like with time I realized that it's that kind of, let's say, phrase. We like sometimes don't realize how much love we have and how much energy we really have, because we usually are thinking that we have like like so much, but in true we have constant love. We have like mm, love that cannot end. So I was like looking into this from perspective that I don't have like something to um guide. I'm sorry, not to guard, something that I'm afraid somebody would take from me. I don't have something to hide from people. I'm something that is constantly renewable and constantly flowing. So even if I'm in a bar around the people that are like low energy, bad people, good people, whatever, I know that mm, they won't take a part of me, or part, like, because people are afraid of being like around bad energies, because bad energies would like attack your good energy, because good, like, positive energy is um
Attract.
tinier, and it's like it's more like it's not as heavy, right? So heavy kind of prevails on the light energy. But if I have like so much and I'm so stable inside of me, nothing of that can really hurt me.
Yeah, and also it's you ultimately shining. Like I feel like I see this in a kind of like different way, because what I realize in my life is that we're like our spiritual energy, and like our energetic body is like a flame that is made of these convective movements. And as long as you are what are convective movements? It's the same thing that happens when the water is boiling. You know, whenever there is something hot, due to gravity, it makes this hyperbolic trajectory. So it goes out and then it goes down again, right? It goes in. And so what we do is constantly we emit and we absorb, right? We emit and we absorb. But we cannot absorb anything if we are emitting all the time. And so as long as you are centered and you're strong in your light, and you're constantly emitting out and shining out, that creates the shield for you. And that's why instead, when we are not conscious, such as when we drink alcohol, for example, is like poking holes in our capability of emitting. And because of that, then there is a convective movement towards the inward, right? That inward that causes energy to come back in because you have a hole, you are not emitting as much. And so because of that, then things from the outside can come in. And this is from an energetic standpoint. And from a psychological standpoint, I feel like there are also a lot of misconceptions about people in these bars, you know, and things. Because I had sometimes my best interactions with these sort of people, in the sense that most of the times are really like we really have to fear white collars, you know, like the predators are not in a bar. Predators are in the banks. Predators are in academia. Predators are in places that are higher, you know, like in these bars is mostly people who are, you know, kind of depressed sometimes or they really don't
Well, not the
care.
worst, let's say, but
Yeah.
still, that's
Yeah.
still different kind
They're,
of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, there's different kinds of people, but not necessarily, you know, like I feel like there is a lot worse that we should really worry about. And so you were doing this in the bar, and so I want to know how you overcame your immune system issue.
So what I think that really changed everything is, well, that summer I decided that I would do every morning my routine, my practice routine, and that was making a quick run, breathing practices, let's say shamanic breathing practices on elements with all kind of like I had my small list of practices that I would like do for sure. And with time, I added some practices for feminine energy through the body. And I would do that every morning. And I took out of my diet, I took any dairy, any wheat. So no bread, no nothing with wheat. And I wouldn't eat meat. Well, sometimes, rarely at my job because I needed to eat something and they were definitely not vegan. Well, I was not vegan, but I would not eat meat. And what else? Let's say it's easier to say what I was eating that I was not eating. So I would eat only millet, black beans, quinoa, and maybe something else I don't remember right now, um, and greens.
What? Greens.
Greens?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like salads,
Yeah.
salads and some vegetables. Not all of them, but like zucchini.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
you
some
really,
fruit.
really simplified your diet. And that was
Really.
something that came from, it was like an intuitive kind of diet, or did anybody tell you about that?
Um, I watched a guy, it's a Russian guy on YouTube, and he was talking about like the kind of food people are eating that most of the like more than half of it is not supposed to be eaten by a human. Like some of it is for birds, some of it is for like other animals, but and I was eating, yeah. So sorry, yeah. So what he was telling for that time, it's really like I felt that it's something had like good for me. Um, I felt that I should take some of this principles into my life. I felt a response in my body, and I said, okay, this is something that makes sense to me. And for that time, I also heard about diets based on the group of the blood, type of the blood. And that also was interesting to me. But then I heard this kind of concept. of food for human. And it's like, okay, I'll try this. So I was eating only nuts and dried fruit in the morning with a little bit of honey. And then I would eat like some of or beans or quinoa at the lunch with some salad. Um, and well, I would drink tea and like papaya in the evening. So like in major points, this would be my diet, something like this. And sometimes at work in the bar, I would eat a quesadilla, for example. That also would happen sometimes, not every day, but I was like, I was quite rigid with my diet out of the job. Um, and I was really like going after it. Every day would be it doesn't matter I work till 3 a.m. or not in the morning. Before eating, I would go to do my running and practices. Then I have my breakfast. Then I would do my studying, my practices, and all that. I was like, it was really a lot if you can imagine, like
You were very
studying.
disciplined, I feel like you had like a whole routine and you decided, okay, I'm gonna use this
I
time.
decided I need to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like I feel like you transmuted that time, like the energy. Like this is beautiful because this is like I always say that people like that become healers are energy transmuters. Like how we function is really that we transmute pain and trauma and suffering and all kinds of challenges into healing, into things. And so what you have done is really like you came to a new country, you were having issues, and instead of just dwelling into that and really settling and becoming stagnant or settling for something that didn't make you feel good, you decided to transmute it. And so you went to a bar, you kept working at a bar, but you transmuted it into ego death. And then you had health issues and you transmuted it into studying and having your own practice and becoming more like getting control of your health as you had done as a kid. And you see how this pattern repeats itself in your life. Like this is the way in which you respond to things. Instead of dwelling and like settling, you just react by being like, no, I'm in control. I decide what's going on with my life. I
yeah, true.
decide what I do, right? And that takes a lot of discipline and a lot of resilience and a lot of really willpower. You have to decide, as you're saying, right? It's like, no, I'm gonna go to run first, do my practice first, and then I can eat, and then I can do this, right? Or like your diet, you're like, it's easier to say what I eat, not what I didn't eat, because you're I feel like this is a major point in all the stories of people who really transmute and change and really walk the journey. It's really discipline, resilience, and this capability of transmuting negative things, apparently negative things, because everything is energy in the universe. Everything
Sure.
is energy. You can decide what to do with that energy, if you can use it to bring you down or you want to use it to bring it up, to bring you up. And so you can go to the same like two different people can do the same exact things, but if they use the energy, if you will go to the bar and work as a waitress and feel depressed about yourself and then go back home and start drinking too, and then start having bad habits, and then that would have brought you much worse, to a much worse place. And instead you're like, no, I want to work on my ego. No, I want to work on my energy. No, I want to stop being judgmental. No, like, like this climbing up instead of allowing yourself to be brought down, I think is really a major point in your stories and in really most healer stories is really how you react to things that allows you to walk the journey, because walk the journey has to do with choice. Like every time everybody finds themselves in front of the same exact choice, but learning the lesson means really seeing, okay, like this time I want to choose to change. This time I want to choose to move forward. I don't want to go backward. I'm going to move forward. So it's really a choice every time. It's really the way in which you make this choice of being like, do I want to stay here? Do I want to feel sad about myself? Do I want to be talking about my problems all the time? Or do I want to
Hmm.
solve them? Or do I want to make something out of this? Or do I want to become a better person? Or do I want to take this as a lesson? It's really a choice because
Hmm.
everybody goes through the same things. And ultimately it's a matter of choosing which one, right?
Yeah, exactly. And more you learn about energy and the principles that universe works, the more you realize that this is exactly the thing that changes everything, because this is how it works. The let's say the world that I am living is completely created by me. And if there's something that I don't like, it means that I didn't have my attention yet into that place, or my perspective about it is just not aligned with my aspirations. Let's say I didn't align my actions or my mind to my aspirations, but because our aspirations are not coming from our brain, right? They are coming from our higher soul. And sometimes people are getting those higher aspirations, but they don't do anything about their real life, about their way of thinking about their life and what they do in their life. So this is the like the main principle of doing anything in life, right? If or just being taken by the river, or being the flow that tells the river where to go. Let's say so.
Yeah, I love it. And so you were telling me though that you also, so you overcame your immune issue at the end of this. So when do you think, how did that happen? And how did you realize that? And why do you think that happened?
Yeah, that's very interesting story, because um in this I I think it's like in whole process it was like a year that took me like to rebrain myself, rebrand myself, and transform myself like on a good level. But on the way, I think after like a half a year, I started to realize some changes in me, because um, like at the beginning I would I would look at the ocean. I would look like at the old lady that would go into the ocean. It was winter. Well, winters in LA are not so cold, but still it's not summer. And the water in the ocean is always freezing unless it's summer and it's very hot. So I would look at her and I would say, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Like I'm living on the ocean, let's say, right? And like 10 minutes from the ocean, 15 minutes from the ocean, and I cannot enjoy fully this miracle. And I would say, oh my gosh, this would be my dream, to be able to just, well, let's not swim, but bathe into the ocean, right? Because I'm still afraid maybe a little bit of waves. But I would go into the water now without any problems. But back then it was a dream. And I guess it took me um half a year, maybe a little bit more, to realize that, for example, I'm driving in my car with my windows open. But major point was when I realized that I'm driving in my car with windows open, and my hair is wet because I just bathed into the ocean. And then I realized, oh my gosh, something really changed in my life, because I could not even walk barefoot on cold sand, wet sand. I would be afraid of that, because I would be afraid of getting sick and stuff. I'm not talking about getting into freezing ocean,
So you
but
just really like you just suddenly one day were like, oh, I want to do this, and you didn't realize because it was
I was
probably
just
as
doing
well.
it. I was just doing it. So I forgot that I can't do this. Somehow I skipped that moment um, of those months, that I guess I was so in the process and learning and practicing and stuff, that when I had really impulse to go to the ocean, or maybe I was with friends, I don't remember anymore, but it just was so normal that I didn't even realize that it like quite a bit while it was not normal.
Wow,
So
that's so crazy.
yes, so it was like so and I was unaware of these changes. It was so normal at the point that in a while I realized, oh my gosh, half year ago or something, I couldn't do this. I wouldn't even like dream. I could just dream about this.
So what do you feel like you did during those year and a half that change your life? Like, so you were working at the bar, you were hanging out at the women's circle, and you were doing your practice daily, and you changed your diet. What else have you done?
Those are really basics, but definitely not all, because constantly in that time, I was changing the way I was thinking. I was changing, transforming the way I was perceiving my life in general. And I was I was really like to understand what was going on. I probably must say what was before that, because I told you like how many issues I had, but can you imagine what kind of mm, brain I had back then? The way I was thinking, I was so negative. I was so closed. I was sad. I was not feeling I was not feeling that I'm living my life. I was feeling that I missed something. That's true, like many people are like living like that. They're thinking that their life is somewhere, but not here, not in their bodies. And I was feeling all of that. I was feeling um, mm, bad because my boyfriend was still in Italy,
Are
right?
you still were with that guy?
Yes, yes, like we were still, and in terms of relationship, it was also getting brighter and brighter, the issues that were like in those relationships. And every time that we would talk on the phone, like after some time, I realized on the energy level what was going on. Because little by little, as I was working on myself, I would start waking up happy. I would I would be happy. And before I was not happy at all. So I would start feeling good. I would start enjoying myself. I would change my wardrobe. I would change my clothes, even for what I was like wearing in my home. I would throw away all the black things I had, and some, I don't know what kind of clothes I had, like really weird clothes. And I love clothes, I love beauty. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, like nothing was aligned with me that I have inside in my real life. So
So you were
little,
blooming, basically. You were really
yeah,
blooming. This is
yes,
something that I went through also many times and recently again in my life, which is when you have, I feel like we all have a time of being in a cocoon in which, like a butterfly, a caterpillar, we have the cocoon time in which, first when we are the caterpillar, we're kind of like very misaligned and very kind of like clumsy and we don't really understand what is
I
going
love that
on.
comparison.
Right.
I
And
always
so we
tell that.
walk in the world in a way that we're like kind of like this weird thing that doesn't really understand how to fly, right? What is going on? And we're kind of like out of place and we feel weird and awkward. And then we have that time of incubation that oftentimes is a time in which, we learn new things or we do things that are outside of like the teachers, we learn lessons. And that's the time of incubation in which it may feel very chaotic. Usually that's how I usually recognize those times. Like it may feel very
Or
like,
when you perceive the cocoon as somebody that is your enemy, because you don't realize what is this cocoon in
yeah,
general,
absolutely. It's like
right?
ultimately, it's like any time in which we have a lot of lessons to learn. That's the cocoon. That's the incubation in which we learn a lot of things, and it appears that there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time, and it may feel very confusing, like very like I don't know exactly, but I feel like, and that's when you realize, okay, I want to react to this thing by building, by changing, by transmuting. And that's when you create a butterfly. And then there is always a point in which you start feeling like, some people feel like the pain of having to go out of the cocoon, like this is too much for me. Some people instead feel like gently they get out of the cocoon. And so they gently daily start to be like, hey, I'm actually getting out and I'm happy. I'm waking up and I'm happy. And I'm doing things that I didn't used to do before. And I didn't even realize that. So you just gently broke out of your cocoon, and really it is like a cocoon. Like we don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that there's so many things going on, spiritually speaking, that we don't see with our eyes, but really it is truly a cocoon and a butterfly, and then we go through a metamorphosis, and we're just, it's
Mm-hmm.
really the empaths that have this kind of life cycle. We really have this life cycle in which we go through metamorphosis and through these caterpillar and cocoon and butterfly. And it's not something that everybody does. It's really something that most like healers tend to have this kind of journey and like blooming. And once you bloom, the colors, like now I'm all about white clothes. And it's before I had a time in which I was all black and white. Like the only things I would wear were white shirts and black pants or jeans.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
was it. It was really like three colors. And I have a lot of clothes, but I haven't used them in a long time because I really felt like that was not me anymore. And so I had this time that was very like, very, very simple, very like, incubating. And
Mm-hmm.
then every once in a while, I have these times in which I'm like, no, I need to start wearing colors, or I need to start wearing this, or I need to start doing this. And now and I can feel that it's a change. Something has
Mm-hmm.
happened, and now I know what resonates with me again. But when you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what resonates with you, it's because you're in your cocoon or your caterpillar phase. And so I love that you did. So do you feel like there is any correlation between you breaking up with a guy, if you ever did, like you breaking up with that guy, and you healing from your immune disorders?
Uh, Definitely. Well, I was also talking with my colleague about this. For example, in my I didn't have an intention to break up with him at the first, right? My intention was to understand what's going on with me, with my life, and let's say the women's circle inspired me to like make me remember what I was always like looking into. The energy esoterica and all this stuff was always interesting to me, but the life, took me took me in all kinds of stuff, and I forgot about it. And that women's circle is like reminded me about all these things, and I started like I needed I needed to rethink my life because I found myself really stressed about what I want to do with my life, with my music. I was really stressed. I felt that I don't have time. I felt like I'm losing time. I need to do something right now. If not, I like my is gonna fall. So I said, okay, I put everything aside on my music, my songs, my everything, and I said I will go and I will understand what is it I want, like really want. What is it with my soul, with my body, with like I felt this that I really need to realize what's going on inside me because that was like the real starting point of this journey. But in the process, like when I was on the phone with my ex or he would come to visit me, I start like having this contrast of what I starting to get to and what this person would make me feel. And on that contrast, I would start like really brightly seeing what he was doing with me. So I started to, even energetically, I started like vividly feeling what was going on when he was trying to
Pull you in.
pull me down, tear me down, and
Wow.
I could even see how he felt like he started to feel like he doesn't have that power on me anymore as before. So he would go in even more crazier. So a few times I would still find myself yelling at him at the phone, and I was, oh my gosh, what am I doing? He once again got that from like out of me. He couldn't like I said 10 times, okay, bye, and he would not let me go before I would scream at him, before I would like be a wreck again.
Yeah, it was
So
a way to like take it on. That's what they do. That's what narcissistic people tend to do. Like people with
yes,
narcissistic personality disorder, they tend to really gather narcissistic supply out of your reactions. So they don't really care of, what you do with the rest of your life, but they need to know that they have changed your day, that they have negatively
yes.
affected you, even if they
Well,
hang up
maybe
the
not
phone.
that kind of intentionally negatively affecting you, but they want to know that they have power on you.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you cry, you it means you still love him. If you
Yeah.
have the kind of strong reaction, it means that, oh my gosh, okay, that's everything is good, then she's still loving me or something, or
Yeah,
she's
but not
still like,
necessarily. There are like different kinds of like different types of reasoning.
well,
But
yeah.
definitely for sure, like what they do is really they need to see these people really have troubles realizing with their own existence, like they feel like they don't
Definitely.
exist until they see that they have power on you of some kind,
Mm-hmm.
whatever kind, and so like your reaction is really the mirror for them to see, okay, I'm powerful, I'm
Mm-hmm.
grandiose, I
Mm-hmm.
have the power to affect this person, whether it is because you love him or because you still have he has the power to affect you, like, and if he can't affect you positively, then it has to become negative, right? And so do you feel like this time that you spent away from this guy,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure like you guys used to talk, but it's different than being together all day, in Italy, do you feel like that in itself may have had a positive effect on your disorder?
That definitely had a positive effect because it's like, would it be possible living beside this kind of person that always drains you down and having a spiritual transformation? I don't know. Because when you're alone with yourself, whatever you're like broken or not, you still have space. If somebody's taking the space out of you, it would be really difficult. You would be facing this contrast every day, many times, and it would be really, really compromising the change.
Your capability of changing your life, especially if you have someone around that kind of like, and this is so important for healing, like being surrounded by people who are supportive or better alone. Like this is something that I've learned the hard way. It's always better to be by yourself, and you guys, if you're
Absolutely.
home, like if you're listening to this and you're going through some struggle, just realize that sometimes we believe we need people to support us and to help us. But if we are not surrounded by people who truly can support us, and not, even if even people who love us may be a hindrance for our journey, because, even your parents are like, what are you going through? What is
First of
happening to
all,
you? So many things, that people tend to prevent you from having your journey, because sometimes the journey includes things like that are so away from your personality or so much far from what you're supposed to do, such as working as a waitress, like for being an opera singer. Maybe if you were surrounded by people who knew you, who allowed, you would have never done it, because you would have never like being felt allowed to do things that were ultimately very far away from your personality, from your
exactly,
persona, from your social status, from your
exactly.
education. And instead those things were functional to your journey. And so a lot of times, and this is just to say in general, it's good to isolate, to go through our own journey and ego death and any kind of spiritual journey. And specifically, when we go through toxic relationships or when we are surrounded by people who don't have our best interest in mind, then it becomes even more difficult, because if they see
From
that you need to change, they
hmm
intentionally prevent you from changes.
Definitely,
They
yes. They
sabotage
don't
your
want you
journey.
to
Yeah,
to to get better. No, they
yeah,
don't want you
exactly.
to
So it's
grow.
even worse. So it's better to be alone. This is to say,
Yes, definitely. From my perspective, uh, m- I didn't meet any woman that has been in a this kind of relationship, abusive relationship at least, that is not an empath. Well, most of women are empath, but when
no, it's
you
not
are,
true. That is not true.
well,
Unfortunately, not. I mean, well, like
naturally they would be, but then life happens.
there are a lot of people. It depends. There are a lot of people who have really deep unresolved trauma, and a lot of women, unfortunately, who have deep unresolved trauma, and because of that, they become manipulative and become more predatory and develop. And this is something that happens sometimes very early in childhood. So everybody has their own function in the world. Like I don't even want to make this dichotomy in a sense. It's like there are many levels of talking about these things, but like on the level of like the dichotomy between empaths and narcissists. It is true. Like this is like the human magnet syndrome. There is a book
The
called that
perfect
way.
combination.
It's
Yes,
the
exactly.
combination. It's really like we attract each other because we are the positive and negative pole of this thing, and we attract each other. Is the trauma bond that makes us attract. So obviously, narcissistic people intentionally target people who are empathetic because they recognize other narcissists, and they have the awareness of understanding they are the same kind of people, that they have the same kind of trauma, that they use the same kind of strategies, and they can't attack each other because they know the strategies. And so there are a lot of women that are very, very sophisticated narcissists instead, like a lot, especially in the spiritual community. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are very, very covert narcissists. And this is to
That's
say that,
true.
because it's the best cover, right? It's the best cover up. It's like, I'm an empath, right? A lot of people. I had actually some time ago, like 2 years ago, I was trying to build a group of healers, which is what I'm doing right now, but I'm just changed method because at that time I didn't know how the spiritual community was. And so I started asking, I'm looking for empaths. And so many narcissistic women came to me, I'm an empath. And I'm like, dude, I'm a psychic. I know how to recognize if you're an
I
empath
kind of
or
did
not.
that once too, but I stopped also. It
Yeah,
takes
you
more
stop.
time to find your people.
Yeah, it
I
takes it, like
yeah.
I have changed method because it's like I realized that it's not something you can do like that because you're always gonna have all of these false positive to your search. When you throw something and people see in that an opportunity, you're not gonna attract empaths.
Exactly.
You're gonna attract the
Exactly.
opposite. And this is again like I feel like we tend to glorify empaths and to scapegoat narcissists in some way as if these two things are everybody has their own role. At the same time, it's like if I'm a gazelle, I can't think I want to search a lion and establish a relationship with them. I'm a gazelle, right? And so same thing, if you're a lion, search your lions, and so I think it has all to do with not like one is good and one is bad, but if someone has an opportunistic behavior against other and is abusive to the point of preventing your growth, preventing yourself healing, preventing all of those things, that's toxic. Like that's toxic for you. So that kind of we tend to negatively talk about certain kind of personalities, not because they are inherently bad people, but because their behavior make them become abusive and parasitic and predatory and like a scavenger. Like they have all kinds of behaviors that are ultimately not healthy due to deep unresolved trauma. And I talked about deep unresolved trauma during the first episode of this season. And so really this is, and there are a lot of women that are like this. And unfortunately women, because women are very intelligent and they're in average more intelligent than men. And so when
Yes.
women are also have deep unresolved trauma and are narcissistic, they can be a lot better than men. Like they can be very manipulative. I met a lot of empathetic women who have awakened from narcissistic and abusive relationships. I've met almost like very, very few men who have awakened from those relationships because women are so good that men don't ever
Mm-hmm.
awaken
Mm-hmm.
from there. They're so good that giving men their glories, that they're like their pedestal and glorifying them and ego feeding them and playing the trophy wife and all of these things. Women can be very, very good at manipulating others. And so I don't want to, say that most women are empaths because this is really not. I feel like we tend to be very much tricked by a lot of women who pretend to be empaths, and especially in
That's
the spiritual
definitely
community.
also, yeah,
Yeah.
takes place,
So, but do
unfortunately.
you feel like this ultimately, um, like I think your journey is very interesting because it has to do with a lot of different things that ultimately affect your health. And I think this is the main topic really of this episode and this podcast, showing how all kinds of things can really affect your health, which may have nothing to do with actual health problem, but with psychosomatic problems, which can go from
Absolutely.
stress to not having control over your body, because it's all about having control. And you demonstrated it the moment in which you decided, I want to eat fish from now on, and you did it. Or, I want to start doing this thing, and you did it. So it's all about how you allow your body to respond to things. And sometimes we are the ones who program ourselves, in the sense that if we are used to getting, it's almost you induce your eczema to yourself, or you induce to feel bad to yourself, by yourself, because you're so used to expecting to, having to keep the windows up while driving, because otherwise you feel sick, that until you keep thinking that, you're gonna keep having the same reaction, because you're expecting that. It's almost like you're priming your body for your body to
It's
respond
like
that
you
way.
programmed for that. Okay, yeah.
You're programming yourself, exactly. And instead, once you forget, because all of these things, like every time you told me this thing, I kind of forgot. Like I feel like after that went away, I forgot, and I started doing things in a different way, and I did not expect the same result anymore, and it didn't happen anymore. And I think this is beautiful.
Yes, and well, that's definitely a part of it to draw attention from the problem. That's definitely a part of the solution. But also, I consider that the practices and the diet and resolving the traumas that I had inside me, because I had the traumas with my mom and my dad also, and all of that, everything went under transformation and like personal work and like solving all of those things and making myself stronger and my body stronger also because I was exercising every day, right? Um, like, and human is a system. It's not like we start to think in one way and everything changes. No, it's it sounds like that. It sounds like I changed my thinking and everything changed, but I also changed my actions too, right? I changed the way I think and I changed the way I react to things, but I definitely did new actions and I chose to even like let's say meditate and keeping my brain cleaner, my body cleaner, and if talking about food, right? Because we are what we eat, we are what we think. So that's definitely very important to invest in our energy, in our quality of energy, right? In the quality of my um, being, in my what am I um, what am I feeling? Because the like there was a lot of working with my way of thinking. If I decided that I can be happy right now, even if it feels like I'm sad. Why am I sad? Maybe I somewhere decided that I'm sad, right? But I am really in control of what am I experiencing right now. So if I'm not okay with being sad, I'm doing something. I'm doing some actions to change what I feel right now into something better because that's my responsibility. So all of this and like all this huge system of everything that I was doing and choosing for myself made me stronger in terms of my body and my energy. So and all this just allowed me to be stronger so my immune system just relaxed because I didn't feel that I have to hide myself and to defend myself from something because immune system activates itself when it's like it has to defend. Like if I subconsciously feel that I have to defend myself from this crazy world where everybody's bad, everybody's offending me, everybody's like, uh, you know, everybody's bad. I'm so good.
This is so beautiful. And I think it has to do a lot, like everything that you did, from working as a waitress to going to a new country, to distancing yourself from your toxic relationship, to change your habits after changing your mindset. You have really reprogrammed your life in a few months, and you have turned yourself upside down. Like you're a different person, right? Like you like your
That's
whole
true.
body
That's true.
felt so different to the point that your whole defenses went down because I don't need to defend myself. I'm strong enough now. And it all went on on its own. It was like an unfolding of things. It's not that you one day the doctor called you and told you, hey, you should do this, this, and that. It was like, no, you just listen to your body. And every time you choose to every time you chose to change something, to be in control of your feelings, to be in control of your life. Like, I don't like this, I'm gonna change it. I don't like that, I'm gonna change that too. So this is what ultimately every one of us has the capability of self-healing on
Absolutely.
their own without like the conscious healing we talk about. Obviously, like I'm very educated in terms of how the body works because I'm a biologist, right? But and so that gives me a lot of advantage on understanding what is going on with my body. And like, even doing my own research, I go to a doctor and doctors usually ask me, so what do you think you have? Because like he just trusts my diagnosis, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
true. And I heal myself all the time. And I'm capable of like searching on the internet and understanding whether what I find makes sense based on my situation. So not everybody has that kind of feeling, but there are some things that we can really heal by ourselves without anybody, because it's really a matter of choosing, okay, being present. And once you're present, you're like, okay, I'm feeling sad, or okay, I'm having this issue, this is an issue, I need to solve it, so I want to choose to solve it. And once you choose to solve it, then you're going to do something about it. And even if it's going to the doctor, going to a healer, going to, or doing something by yourself, or going and exercise every day, whatever it is, once you choose to solve the problem instead of sitting there and becoming stagnant, that's the journey. And it's necessarily a journey, because once you decide to solve things, then you can't possibly be still, because you need to do something, to take
Exactly.
action,
Exactly.
to change things. And so what do you do today? Like, now that you have overcome all of these things and you have found your path and really bloomed into the butterfly that you are today. So how do you help people heal?
Um, well, I do I do I call them kind of energy sessions, and sometimes I use the intuitive singing. Not always, but some people are fascinated about this and they want to try it. But I mostly suggest this modality for those who are not ready to do the work by themselves during a meditation, and they have a lot of um, resistance. People that have a lot of mental resistance, it's easier to work through intuitive singing at first. So some energy aligns, some work is done through that, and it's easier then to work with them with their subconscious when they are aware what is done. Because uh, very often, unfortunately, I encounter resistance in people. They want to solve things, and yet they are afraid to go there, and they try to sabotage themselves in this work.
All of us.
So yeah, so they find why would they not do this instead of what they would do this. So although it's interesting because they first of all they come to you and they and then they show you that they have this sabotage going on, and then I say that we should start with singing because this is the first thing that aligns the body, the energy, the everything, like all the levels of being, of human being. So I love to do that, and after that, it's easier. It's really easier to work with a person, and I do that kind of through guided meditations and through conversations because, as I said, it's not like just dry work that we do because person first of all needs to understand some principles that are still not a normal thing to people around, and people are not aware how things work, even in the family, how the energy should flow, what is normal, what is not normal. right? Because we are growing up as we are growing up, and we think that that situation is normal, but we need something from aside
External.
to from extra to realize what is okay and what is not okay and how it should be, how it should work. And so I do conversations too to first of all mm, set myself um, as, let's say, reading the person, because I need to um, while a person tells me something, I can easier like tune on the person, on what's going on with the person, on his energy, his way of state of being. So when when I do that, I can easier realize where the root of the problem is. Because sometimes it's easier to distract ourselves on what is on the surface, but there's usually something deeper there that brings to this surface problems. So mainly I do that, and when I get a hold of that root, I go and work on that with the person. Um, Usually it's well, most of the time is trauma that is based in family in childhood. Most of the time is that, because everything that happens with us after us is programmed, let's say, as a result of what was programmed when we were kids, when we were small. And well, even psychology tells us this, but that's that's truly is like it can be like, for example, more difficult to work on the problems, on the trauma that was created when a person was 3 years old. Because right now, whatever was in the past, it's in the past. Who cares? I love my mom. We don't live together anymore, right? It's like the problem is not there anymore, but it is. So it can be difficult to go down there. But thanks to energy practices and through meditations, we do go there and we find the issues and resolve them through energy work. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think that's so necessary. It's like a form of like spiritual psychology, basically, in a sense. Yeah, it's so necessary. Like I do something similar in the sense that I also use like similar in the sense that I also try to go to the root cause of the problem through conversation and through psychic healing and psychic readings, energy readings and chakra readings, and then I help people heal based on the root cause that I found, because that's so important. It's like ultimately, if you don't go to the root cause, and as you in your case, for example, most of your disorders were really psychosomatic, like it had nothing to do, and the fact that they disappeared, it's the sign that they were psychosomatic, because when something is genetic, it doesn't disappear. Like, if something is ingrained in you, and you can't change it, it doesn't go away. Like when things go away is because they somewhat are caused by stress, by by your psychology, by your way of thinking, by you feeling threatened by the world, and then your body necessarily reacting, because we are so consistent. We are consistent with what we think, with how we are. And so if our trauma makes us feel weak, if our trauma makes us feel like we have to be hyper vigilant, if our trauma makes us
Hmm.
feel, whatever our trauma makes us feel, that reflects in our body reacts. And so if our body makes us feel like depressed, then of course we become customers in a bar that start drinking all the time, because we like
Hmm.
it's our trauma that we don't want to deal with that makes us do that. And instead, if we're like, no, I want to react, then we make different choices and we change. And so it's so important to really go to the root cause, because you can't, and I was talking about that, I don't remember in what episode, about surgery, for example. It's like, yeah, you can have your excessive fat removed from your body, but that is not going to change anything, because the reason why you have you have that accumulated fat is because there is some problem in your psychology, and
Some
definitely
disorders.
things go in both directions. So if you do remove your fat, that may affect your personality, and you may feel different, and so that may change your personality, but not necessarily, like, because if you don't have this conscious way of healing, if you're not conscious about the problem, you just end up repeating the same patterns over and over and over. So it's important to become conscious of our patterns and to become conscious of ourselves. And it is, as I said so many times this episode, it is really a choice. It's really a matter of choosing. I want to see, I want to change, I want to solve, it's just a matter of choosing, and then being disciplined and being persistent and being intuitive about your own problems, and being intuitive about, okay, and wanting to also put aside our ego and put aside our judgment and go through the process and surrender to the process, because everything is functional to our journey. We don't know that we are like animals, like if you watch a documentary and you see all the life cycle of a butterfly, of a lion, of a gazelle, of a plant, we observe all of these animals in nature through documentaries that show us how they grow. But if that animal has no idea of what is going on. That animal is simply
Mm-hmm.
surrendering to the process, and the process has a way to happen, to work out. And so once you surrender to the process and you understand that this is how it works, that's when you really become more capable of doing your thing, and nothing gets sent to anybody that cannot handle it, in a sense, like, so we are,
Exactly.
if we feel like if we feel like we want to solve a problem, is because we have the solution in us. If we
Exactly.
feel like we have to keep walking, is because we have that many steps in us. If we feel like we want to fly, it's because we have the capability of flying in us. So all of these things, if you feel like you can, you actually can. It's just a matter of like doing the changes that you need to make in your life for you to achieve, to make that potential become tangible, but you have that potential in you. And people who are different than you are simply not going to be like you. They're not going to choose things in the same way. They're not going to do things in the way in which you do. How many people have you met that had a completely different story, and how many people have you had to leave behind you, from toxic partners to friends to family, yeah, how many people did you have to leave behind because you will keep walking and they were staying behind? How many people? This happens to all of us, because when you're a butterfly and people are
Exactly.
caterpillars and are not supposed to become butterflies, then you can only leave them behind. That's necessary. Like, it's inevitable. And so this happens to to most healers, that we have to keep walking. But the fact that we know that there is the choice of walking, the fact that we know that there is a choice of solving the problem, is because we have that in us. And this is, again, I want to make sure that I'm inclusive here, because this is not to say you all should be healers, because there's some people in society that are healers, some people who are not. Some people are meant to be healed, and some people who are meant to be healers. And so I feel like every one of us has the potential to heal themselves, but some of us are
Exactly.
more prone to become intuitive healers and healers for others. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their job, like in the
I
interview with
agree with you.
Tony.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
consider that everyone can be a healer to somebody else because um, not everyone has this ability and perspective of seeing the process from within.
And
So
the
it can,
intuition. The
it's
intuition is a real neurobiological thing. Like,
exactly,
there are parts of the brain that are in charge of intuition, and our brains are not all the same. Like, some people have more
I
developed
like
certain
to,
areas.
yeah, and I like to do this comparison all the time because I'm a singer, right? So when you see a good singer, first thing you might think that he could be a good teacher, but that's not always true. Not everyone who can sing can teach singing others because some people just sing and they don't have any idea what's going on here. And some people like me, well, even in singing, I can feel everything that other person does to his throat, so I can tell him what to do to change that. So even in this, so not everyone can be a teacher, not everyone can be a healer, and not everyone can help. other people on doing, like, it can be anything, not just healing or teaching. Some of us are like have this ability to see another perspective, that can see the process from inside and outside and every step of it, so can really um, like
Guide.
pick guide and pick this mm, step points, this mm, basic moments that are important for others to see, because usually we are just not aware. Yes, so we like are able to be aware of certain processes and of certain things that normally people are like not able to feel, not able to be aware of. And
I know everybody that does it, and I feel like for a long time, because healers have been for a long time very few people in on earth, like from Jesus to today, we had very few people who were very awakened, very capable
hmm
of
hmm
walking the path of awakening and becoming enlightened. So we have very few. And so there has been for a long time, and still today actually, a lot of mixed feelings about those people. There are those who are helped and they feel like they had been, like witness of a miracle, and so
hmm
they keep supporting them and helping them, and there are those who are envious and who feel like, why, like, you feel why are you so presumptuous that you keep walking, and they don't understand they were just different kinds of people. Like, humanity is diversifying in different kinds of people, and some are butterflies, some are not, some are meant to stay, you know lions, some become eagles, some become, like, so different people have different journeys because we are different psychologically, neurobiologically, we are different, and so
hmm
different people have different roles in society. But I feel like for against healers, there have been a lot of because healers have the potential to heal the population, and especially today, in which we have a Western healthcare system that has been hijacked by capitalism and has become just a money machine. So obviously, healers are not something desirable in such a system, and so we tend to be marginalized and persecuted. We've been persecuted for thousands of years, right? And so the
that's true.
population has been indoctrinated to perceive those who keep walking this path and who turn into butterflies as presumptuous, right?
hmm
So they develop this envy. They don't understand that we're the ones supposed to help them, supposed to heal them. So it's important to I don't want to glorify healers in a sense. I want to explain to people who are listening, that everything is important. We all have a role. Like Tom Rossi said in his episode, he's a musician and he heals people through music. And he's like, I'm no dentist. Like, dentists have their role and they heal me through their tools. But they don't have time to study music and to make music and to understand how to heal others with music. And so what would they listen to if I would not make music, right? And so I'm the
hmm
one making music for those who have studied to be different people and who have different roles in society. And thanks to me, they can heal. But thanks to them, I can have the things that I need to have. So it's a matter of diversifying roles. So we should really understand that and give glorify every role in society, and instead of being envious of people who are different than us, and you keep walking the path and the spiritual path, and instead of stopping there, they keep walking and walking and walking. We just should recognize that as, okay, this person keeps walking, this person is a butterfly, butterflies are healers, this person is meant to heal me. So once the population will make this click, in this understanding, that's when we will be able to become conscious at healing
And I'd like
ourselves.
to add here something, because, as you said, it's like we are becoming more and more. There's more and more of us. That's also true that there's like different healers. There's true healers and then presumptuous healers.
Yeah, that's what I
And
said at the
but what I
beginning.
want to say is that people should get used to this kind of new kind of people as us healers, and also trying to start thinking more normally about us as a profession, as a place for us to be. And as you go and you choose a dentist, you should know how to go and choose a healer, and not just everyone that is like making waves in the air is like a real healer. It can really help you. And somebody that maybe has a smaller office and like it. So I mean, same way as you would choose another other like profession and service for yourself, you should be more aware of how you choose a healer and who you want to work with. And I think it's also on us to make more um, educational, let's say, content about this, so people can learn who is who and who is real and who is like making waves in the
It's true.
air.
No, absolutely is necessary. I feel like, again, like unfortunately, when things are not like we've been detached from our roots for a long time, and now healers are finally coming back, and now the environment is more, this is like the new earth that finally is flowering, right? So finally,
Hmm.
because of all of these, before the environment was very hostile for the flowers, and now the flowers, the healers are more capable of flourishing because a lot of people have fought battles to prevent us from being persecuted, and now we can finally flourish. And so the earth is really flowering right now, is springing. And so it's happening. But whenever things that are at the very beginning, they're not organized. And like whenever things are not organized, then there are a lot of imposters. There are a lot of,
Hmm.
like, it's difficult for people to know. In healthcare
Opportunity.
has been there, Western healthcare has been there for decades, right? And so now people know how it works and how to recognize a good doctor, and that they need to know to be recommended to people, otherwise they're going to try to defraud you all the time. And so all of these things that have happened because time has passed. As time has gone by, and people have had the time to adapt to that system. Healers
Hmm.
are a new thing, new. We've been here for thousands of years, but every time we
But
get cut
still.
down and shut off and persecuted, and then we have to come back again. And people every time have a negative interaction initially because they don't have the time to get acquainted to the real healing. And so initially their interaction is negative. There is a lot of effort. Like I can tell you, like from a personal perspective, there is a lot of effort constantly to sabotage healers. There are literally people in these corporations, like in the Western healthcare, they literally spend money to try and sabotage people through private investigators, through journalists, through Wikipedia, which I'm really sorry because I used to donate a lot to Wikipedia. And instead, I've just recently realized that actually there have been a lot of lawsuits against them by healers and the holistic community because Wikipedia is very, very fraudulent in that sense. It's like like I've personally tried to change the page that talks about Kambo because it's very misleading and it's quite obviously written by people who are trying to disparage Kambo, which is a shamanic medicine that is very powerful. And they refused. I tried a ton of times, and the guy in charge of editing, the editor for that page, refused my edits. Although it was obvious that the page, how it was written by people who were citing their own scientific papers. They had no idea what they were talking about. They were clearly
Hmm.
disparaging. So it was not an objective type of talking. It was
Hmm.
obviously
Hmm.
a way of disparaging. And I tried and I realized that I wasn't the only one who noticed that. There are lawsuits against Wikipedia for that. And so unfortunately,
Hmm.
people have a lot of misinformation. There are literally millions of dollars spent every
Hmm.
second to sabotage healers, to sabotage the healthcare, the healing, holistic healthcare, to sabotage psychedelic therapies, to sabotage, literally they do
That's
that intentionally.
unfortunately true.
And
Yes.
this is
The
very true.
system
And
doesn't want healers because
what?
the system doesn't want
Doesn't want
us.
no, because they've been persecuting us for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But this is what conscious healing is. This is when the population has to be aware of these things, because until now we have been segregated, and marginalized. And whenever something happens only to a category of people, like discrimination against Black people, right? Then you go to a white guy and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never suffered that kind of injustice. Yes, because you're white. But the thing is that the system works like this. It compartmentalizes and it makes people, only certain kinds of people undergo certain kinds of persecutions. And so the population, when they hear these stories, they're like, oh, you're making this up, or this is an isolated case. And it's not. And it's really all done so that the population keep being farmed as they are, and their pathologies keep being farmed and become a wealth of money. And so it's important for the population to be aware of these things and of all the struggle the healers go through for them to become healers, all this money that are spent to sabotage us daily, those who know it and those who are not aware of it. And so this happens all the time. That's why it's taking so long for us to really
Establish,
get
yeah.
to really
Hmm.
flourish. And this is who is losing ultimately is the entire world. Like other than pharmaceutical companies, the world is really losing. And well, thank you so much for being here with us. And I would like for you to give your contact, your website or your Instagram page or any reference so that people can find you. And we are gonna put everything in the description as well.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this, what you're doing. It's incredible, and I'm very happy that I met you. And I want to thank everyone that is watching this because this is super, super important for every one of us to adapt to our new reality. Let's say new because it's still for us in this life, it's still new for our society. And I'd like to share my Instagram. That is Instagram.com/ Anna Kali Healer, ANAKALI Healer. And I'm working on my website, but you will definitely find out about it on my Instagram.
That's amazing. Thank you so, so much for being here, for being like telling our story, your story. I feel like it's always very personal. So I really thank you for wanting to share with us your personal story and your struggles and something that can be considered very intimate, like relationships and all these things that you've done. That even like working as a bartender, a lot of people have troubles sharing these kind of stories, and so I think it's a sign of growth. And I really thank you. I'm grateful for you being here and telling us how you grew and how you changed and how that led you to become a healer yourself. So please try her, especially intuitive singing. I really am curious about that. I would like to do a trade of services with you to see how we can help each other heal. And thank you guys for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.